considering these two candidates. Mr. George is going to be the moderator tonight, so he'll be out.
Second. Micless?
Yeah,
So right there,
it should be fine, but just this.
can I hand those to you?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Lots of questions. So I prioritize them, I put them together, a lot of questions overlap, I do the best I possibly can. We typically try to ask the same questions to both candidates to the best of our ability. And we have another one, so we can grab that. I got a lot right at the end here, so we'll take me a little bit. Do we get that in there too?
Yep.
So I won't need any of my backup questions. Okay. So I would like to first introduce our first candidate, Mr. Stephen Lee. Mr. Lee, can you come on up? And as Mr. Lee approaches, can you guys hear me okay in the back?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lee, you don't have to be on top of the stage. You can be lower if you wish.
All right, that's good.
Entirely however you feel when you answer questions. So we have about 30 minutes with you, and we're going to ask you some questions from the audience. And the first 2 to 3 minutes actually belongs to you, where you can introduce yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Steve Lee. I'm glad to be here this afternoon. I am currently the principal of Palomino Primary School up in Paradise Valley. This is my 12th year up at that school. Previous to that, I was an assistant principal, a TOA assistant principal at Palomino Intermediate, the intermediate school on the same campus. So I've kind of been in the same area for about 15 years. Prior to that, I was a language acquisition specialist and an ELL teacher. I have taught in the classroom for a number of years, grades 2 through 5. Mostly in California, and then when we moved over here to Arizona. A couple of interesting places that I've had experience in. When I started student teaching, I had an opportunity to do my student teaching at an American school in Madrid, Spain. Loved it so much, I stayed a complete other year as a first grade teacher assistant and just immersed myself in Spanish culture. And then from there, went to California to teach and really focused my teaching on working with English language learners in immigrant communities. And really a nice experience I had there. I worked in San Isidro, which is on the border of California and Mexico. I actually could look out my classroom door down the hill, and there's the fence. We were that close. It was a very, very interesting time. I learned a lot. It's there where I met my wife, and she's also a teacher, and we moved over here to Arizona, and been here since about 2003. So My focus in education, my experience has really been on language learning. Language development, it's a passion of mine. As I learned Spanish, starting in high school and through these various experiences, it's opened a lot of doors for me. And so it's a really passionate thing I have is I really get excited about developing systems for improving language learning, and it's kind of where I spent my career. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, your first question. How will you handle engaged parents, staff, and leadership who are resistant to a change in leadership?
Okay. I know it's very tough when a new principal comes on board. I've been a teacher in that situation in my career. My first goal will be to get to know people. It takes time to build trust, and that is where everything starts. And I think back to 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I was the new principal in the building over at Palomino. I couldn't walk in and just make changes or things like that. I needed time to get to know people. And that is my first goal. So I'm going to be as visible as I can. I'm going to be having as many informal conversations as I can with teachers, staff, parents, to be available. Also really setting up some strategic conversations with the goal that I want to learn more about Madison Heights. Madison Heights is a wonderful school with an incredible reputation. And so my goal really is to honor that and to get to know people, to build that trust. And then when we get to a point where we want to look at changes, we do that together. We plan together. My philosophy as a leader is to really be a learning leader. I want to work with people, learn with people, look at the same data, look at the same experiences, problem solve together. That is really my goal. I think a lot of that will help establish some of that, resistance to kind of minimize a bit. Once people get to know and trust a leader, I think that really kind of minimizes that a bit. The other thing is I really in that process want to look at, why someone is resistant. Because sometimes there's very, very valid reasons. Maybe we've done this before, it didn't work. Maybe there is information we don't know yet, and that's why that process for me is very important to do that together.
Thank you for that. Throughout the years here at Madison Heights Community Education, which oversees preschool and after-school programs, has worked hard to be included in the elementary school's daily activities, school events. How would you bridge the gap between community education programs and the elementary school?
Okay. In my current school, I'm actually working with this same issue right now. My current school, we have an entire wing of 3 different preschool programs. We have a developmental preschool, an all-day preschool through Title I, and then Head Start uses our facilities. And especially since we've been back in our building, we are in a new building, we've really wanted to promote students to be a part of the school community because those are our future students. And so we invite to any events on campus. We want to make sure staff are included in staff meetings and really try to make sure that there are reasons for them to be in staff meetings, including agenda items that really are relevant to programs. We want to make sure that other staff members know about the programs and know, and have those interactions with staff so that, and I'm, again, not knowing the program in details here, I want to make sure that they're feeling a part of the staff and not a completely separate organization. Like I said, these are feelings that I have had on my campus that we've had to work through. When you have specialized programs, sometimes they can feel separate, and so you really want to bring everyone together in informal settings and formal settings and make sure that families and communities are included in those processes.
Thank you. Our next question, can you share your approach to inclusion of special ed students in the school, especially in an immersion program like ours?
Okay. I have worked a lot with inclusion of students, albeit not within an immersion program. Immersion is a very great strategy to use because students build friendship skills, social skills, have peer models, and student achievement is higher with inclusion programs. In my experience, what that really takes is making sure the entire team is involved. For example, the classroom teacher to be made very well aware of what the IEP goals are or the 504 accommodations are, to make sure that we understand what modifications need to be done, and then to try to build in that planning time between the special ed team and the regular education team so that teachers have time to connect with each other so that we can make our strategies intentional. And that might be so we have some side-by-side teaching or small group instruction within the classroom or a teach and circulate model. Those are all very helpful things. Where I see that working with in a bilingual model is, a lot of the strategies that we use to support students who have special needs or unique needs is we want to provide a lot of context, a lot of visuals, a lot of opportunities for conversation and collaboration to provide practice and language skills. And there's a lot of cross-curricular connections that you can make with some of the accommodations and things that you would use for a student in an inclusion setting, and also for our students learning a second language.
Thank you. Our next question, how do you hold teachers accountable for implementing board-adopted programs and 504s while also being supportive?
Okay. Okay, so I would like to take that kind of a step back, is I want to make sure that when we get to a point where we've got a new program or a new policy coming out, we go kind of back to make sure that we are on the same page with that, making sure that people understand that policy. When I find a situation come up in my experience where I feel resistance to that, usually there's something behind that. So I want to make sure that I'm talking to people and kind of learning more about the situation. And then part of that might be, some professional development about why we have a 504, why it's really important to provide the accommodations besides being the law, but what impact do we have when we provide those accommodations, because our goal is achievement for all. And so when I start working backwards through those conversations and kind of getting to know the why there's a resistance, a lot of times opportunities present themselves where we can make some real progress in that situation.
Thank you. We have questions from parents, teachers. This next one comes from one of our students.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Awesome.
First of all,
Tough one.
there's two parts to it. First, do you speak Spanish? And two, can we please upgrade the playground?
All right, so yes, I do speak Spanish. I do not speak perfect Spanish, but I've had a lot of opportunities. I started out learning Spanish in high school. When I went to college, I minored in Spanish, so I continued classes there. I came across an opportunity where I lived in a house and we were immersed in Spanish. I had a roommate from Chile. It was a lot of fun. And that's where I kind of came across my opportunity to do my student teaching in Spain. Even though I taught at an American school in Spain, I really did my best to immerse myself in Spanish culture and the Spanish language. And for those of you who know that Spanish in Spain is very different than a lot of the Spanish you hear in the United States here. And so when I went to California, all of the families I worked with are the 100% Spanish-speaking families. And I had to relearn a lot of words. Accents were different, and so I've had a lot of variety with that. My wife's family is from Mexico, and so when we're together as a family, a lot of times we do speak Spanish. So I've had a lot of mix of opportunities to speak Spanish. At my school, when I'm speaking to parents, I speak Spanish all the time. But there are gaps when I don't use certain vocabulary, science lessons and things like that. Since we teach all in English, that's going to be some time for me to learn that. But yes, I do. Playground. All right, so I haven't seen your playground, but I have been through this on my own campus. We rebuilt the campus, and there are opportunities that sometimes come up to look at playgrounds. And I am sure through this district there are process where we would look at the equipment, look at opportunities for that. There are also a lot of opportunities that we brought in when we weren't able to get new equipment. Games that you can do without that equipment, and so there's a lot of opportunities to play. And so we used Playworks for a while. Playworks has a lot of games that you can do that might be new to experience. So I'm not sure exactly what the process is for getting the new playground equipment here in Madison, but there are a lot of opportunities to introduce new games to make recess exciting and fun. So hope I helped.
Thank you. How do you handle repeated challenging behaviors?
Okay. I believe it takes a systematic approach. To be honest, so the school I work at now, I do have a lot of situations over the years that I've worked with some repeated behaviors. And what I've come to learn, the best approach is as much proactive teaching and positive reinforcement as we can do, and teamwork. At my current school, I work with my assistant principal, I work with my SEL teacher and the social worker, and we work together to really try to identify what the function of the behavior, what's going on, the reason behind for some of the behavior, and we try to look at that situation at that level so that we can try to put in interventions at that level to decrease behaviors over time, and look at that. And so I do have a lot of experience with that. There's a lot of strategies that can be done, but it's really looking at the behavior, what's happening right before the behavior happens, what's kind of the reason behind the behavior, and that may lead to, if it's a relationship building thing, maybe a new student to school or something like that, they're not connected to school, we might do a check-in, check-out program where we're checking in on the student and trying to build a positive mentor relationship. We might do a 2x10 strategy where for 2 minutes, 10 days in a row, we try to build that just positive social conversation with the student. It might be some behavior charts with a specific goal, again related to that behavior function, with some time periods broken down to support that student. And it might be going on the more formal side, where we really do a functional behavior assessment, where we're really looking closely at what's going on in that behavior situation, so that we can put in some really formal strategies to do that. And all of this, I have learned, is so important to have a lot of conversations going on, because a lot of times behavior is gray. It is not black or white. There's a lot of give and take in behavior situations, and so it's important for us to meet with the teacher and the support team often to kind of find out what's going on so that we can keep trying that behavior intervention.
Okay, thank you. How do you handle parent-teacher conflict?
Okay. I believe that it's very important for all of us to establish positive relationships with parents at the beginning of the school year or when we first meet, and to keep that positive relationship going. The reason why is because when we get to a moment where there's a misunderstanding or a conflict, that's really, there's a little give there because we have a really positive relationship. We want to make sure that we are reaching out for those positive moments and those struggles as well, so parents are getting kind of both messages. When there is a conflict, again, there's a lot of times there's reasons behind the conflict. Sometimes it might be that the mode of communication that we're doing, maybe we need to have face-to-face conversations because maybe there's some misunderstanding through email or something like that. And then we want to come into a conversation with just a mindset that we're here for the student and we're trying to resolve a problem so that we can work together for the benefit of the student. And when we approach things that way, a lot of times, I would say most of the time, that things get resolved in that, in building that trust between that, and then we can follow up and check, a couple weeks later, how are we doing? Is the plan that we set in place working? Are there any adjustments to that plan that we want to talk about, or is what we're doing going forward working for us?
Okay, thank you. Our next question is a unique one. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, how happy are you and why?
All right, okay. I would say 10. I am a happy person. I approach situations, very glass half full kind of person. And I approach situations always thinking the best of the situation. I give people that opportunity. I know that we are here at school. We chose this profession because we believe in education. We chose this profession because we love working with children. And we come with those really honest intentions to a situation. I love my job. I love working with schools. I love working with teachers. I love working with families and students. I get a lot of joy out of that. It doesn't feel like work most of the time. And so I do approach that. I love work. And so I am a very happy person.
Super, thank you. All schools want better academic achievement as well as safe schools. Specifically, what do you see as the biggest challenge of a Spanish immersion elementary school?
Okay, so Madison Heights has a very strong reputation as a very good school. And I think one of the challenges is to continue that growth. And one of the processes we do in a Title I school is we do a needs assessment every year. And we look at our data, we look at surveys, we look at growth scores on our formative assessments and growth scores on our state assessment. And with those growth scores, we kind of work our way back to a root cause analysis to kind of make our plans. And so each year, I would like to follow that process, and I'm not sure if Madison has that similar process, but that is my experience with the Title I school, where we start our long-term planning, and we can kind of look at areas that we are able to grow in. When we look at an immersion program, it's been around, I think since 2009, if I understand correctly. It's one of the earlier programs in the Valley. Again, it's got a great reputation. Sometimes when we look at that, we might find areas in our analysis together as a staff and as parents looking at data, we might find areas of growth. It might be types of activities. It might be adding some cultural ideas or some themes to it to refresh it. It might be looking at data that hasn't grown in a specific area, and those are things that we look at together and we make goals together on that, and that's how we move forward in that process. When you do that, you start finding some areas that, yes, definitely need to be worked on, even at an amazing school, because our goal is achievement for all. Our goal is, growth for all. And in those growth goals, that is where we're going to find those opportunities and those challenges to work for.
Thank you. Because Madison Heights is a Spanish immersion school, it requires a complex schedule. What is your experience with creating a complex schedule?
Yes. Okay. At my current school, we have a not a Spanish immersion, but a similar schedule challenge. We have a 2-hour literacy block where half of our students go to one class for English language development, and the other half of the students may go to another teacher for English language literacy block for students who are native speakers or who are proficient in English language. And so we have to create a master schedule that incorporates switching of classes for kindergarten through 3rd grade. That's what my school is. We have to incorporate a schedule that has times for reading intervention throughout the day. We have to include a schedule that does our best to line up teacher preps to allow really good planning times, and work around lunch, recess, and specials and things like that. All schedules are very, very complicated. My process through that is by the start to finish, we probably go through 20 drafts before we arrive on a schedule that works for everyone. I think it's a team approach where you probably have a couple people writing, going back to the team from stakeholder groups, and then coming back, and then going out, coming back, until you arrive on a schedule that everyone can live with. It is very complicated, but it is also something that can be done. It's something that every year when we look at our daunting project of scheduling, even when it looks impossible, you end up on a schedule that everyone can live with and it incorporates your priorities. Because wherever you start a schedule with your priorities, that's where your focus goes, and then you fit every other piece in as the best you can.
Thank you. So as you know, Madison Heights is a Spanish immersion school. I have 2 or 3 questions in regards to this area. Do you have any ideas on how to promote and really enhance the gifted program?
Okay. Okay. So with the REACH program, we know that we're aiming instruction 2 years above grade level so that students can work with peers at similar ability levels. And so we are really promoting that critical thinking, collaboration process with students. When you look at really good language instruction, you are promoting some of those same ideas. You want to provide high context, high critical thinking areas. That might come in the form of project-based learning. That definitely includes a lot of student talking opportunities, a lot of group work opportunities, and really pushing that production level for students. For our gifted learners, we want to make sure that we have lots of opportunities to build social skills within lessons. We want to make sure that we are compacting curriculum, so we're accelerating curriculum, and providing those opportunities to interact in a project-based learning style. When we're looking at moving forward, again, my process is to really look at what's going on, what's been tried in our classrooms, and I would work with teams to plan and kind of look at that. Again, going back to my planning model, one of the things I think we really have to look at is we have to look at making a growth goal for our gifted students so that we make sure that we are measuring their progress along with everyone else so that we can do the best we can to move that program forward.
All right, thank you. And thank you very much for being here this evening. We would like to give the last 2 to 3 minutes to you for a closing, but we actually request if you could do it in Spanish.
Okay. There we go. All right. All right. Muchas gracias por su tiempo aquí. Estoy muy feliz de presentar información a ustedes. Como dije, yo tengo mucha experiencia de ser director en la escuela de Palomino, en el norte de Phoenix. Con mi experiencia, yo he aprendido mucho de cómo ser líder de una escuela. he aprendido que necesitamos trabajar juntos, el involucrando los padres, los maestros, para el bienestar de los niños. Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
And again, we have one more candidate this evening. I will share with you at the end about how you can give your feedback to us in regards to the two candidates. Our next candidate is Miss Emma Ortiz. She's probably on her way down. Actually, I can probably tell you now, since we're waiting. You have your little pamphlet. On that pamphlet is a QR code. You can actually take a picture of the QR code. That's one way to provide your feedback. If you don't want to use your own device or don't have your own device, you have computers in the back. And online, where you're streaming, there's a little descriptor of the video at the bottom. You can click on that, and that will give you an opportunity to provide feedback. Please do so by midnight this evening. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Emma Ortiz. Ms. Ortiz, thank you for being here this evening. You don't have to be on stage up here. You can be if you like. You can be.
I already have eyes on these.
But right there is a camera that has people online that can see you, as well as our audience. Be careful. We have lots of questions from parents and staff. And we're going to start off by allowing you the first 2 to 3 minutes to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm trying to make sure I make eye contact with everyone. Good evening. My name is Emma Ortiz. I have been a teacher for about 20 years. That was my passion and continues to be. I'm a learner most of all. I want to make sure that I continue to grow and learn. I currently am the interim principal at a K-8 school in the Isaac School District. I previously started as just PBIS specialist, which is a very big opportunity for me to learn everything about PBIS. I moved on to being a TOSA. After being a TOSA for an elementary school and a preschool, I was also the director of that preschool. I moved on to being an assistant principal where I'm currently at, and now the interim principal. This way so you can see me. I know you're stretching your neck. I grew up in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, so Bears, Cubs. I know a lot of people that come to Phoenix are from Chicago, so it's a home for me. It's very important, but the weather is extremely severe over there, so I had to move somewhere warmer. I have a master's in bilingual multicultural education. I've worked from K all the way up to 9th grade. I've run summer school programs, after school programs. I have been selected as Teacher of the Year. I can't remember the year, 2015, 2016, one of those. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to come into this school and support all the kids and be the best that I can be in growing and having people grow with me. I have a background in the Spanish immersion program. I work with curriculums. I worked in Evanston, Illinois, where I was part of a committee that created the curriculum for middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. It was Spanish heritage at that time, but then we changed to Spanish for Spanish speakers. I'm bilingual. I love to bring my culture and my aspects of everything that is Spanish language with me to make sure that I can communicate. Communication is very important. Being bilingual is super important. because you want to have those conversations, and sometimes translating doesn't always come up across the way that we want things to come across. I think that's about it for right now.
Okay, super, thank you. Can we hear okay in the back? We have access to a mic, okay, so we can hear okay. All right, super.
Okay, I will speak up louder.
You can speak louder, I can hand you a microphone. Entirely up to you.
I'll speak louder.
Okay, I want you to be comfortable here.
I'll do
Okay.
my teacher voice.
All right, we want to make sure everyone can hear. How will you handle engaged parents, staff, and leadership who are resistant to a change in leadership?
That is where I am currently in working with the staff that I am working with. When it comes to changing people's minds, it's giving the people why, the why of everything that you do in a school system. Are you able to hear me? Louder? Okay. It's important to learn about your staff members, your community, your parents, engage in those communication aspects that you need to make sure you understand what they want, what they need. Right now, I'm working at a school where there is that culture that some teachers are set in my way. This is how we did it. This is how it is. But we have to bring systems and change, because that's how we grow. The ultimate thing is we want to grow. We want to achieve greatness. And then when we do that, we need to have people buy into the system. So having those people be part of your committees, having those people and explaining the why of why we're making changes, the why of what we're doing things, is going to help them understand and kind of come with you. And, you know, building those relationships with people. It's very important to build relationships with all teachers, parents, so that you are able to communicate and you're able to help support them in making those changes and come on your side.
Thank you.
Okay.
Our next question, how do you handle parent-teacher conflict?
I do that on a daily basis. Mitigations, it's sometimes when a parent is upset about something, you have to hear them out. You have to hear their side of the story, because I have children, and I have dealt with a lot of children that's, you know, their perspective of something can be different. So we have to get the full story. You want to get the child's story, the parent's story, the teacher's story, whoever is involved in the situation, and then get bystanders that might have more information. And then do a full investigation, make sure that you look at the best scenario for the child. We want to make sure that we're teaching our children, not giving them consequences. So we want to make sure that we are able to communicate what the results of the incidents to the parents, and get their input, and make sure that we work together in maybe having a mediation with the teacher and discussing what their concerns are, and supporting the teacher at the same time to make sure that her voice is also heard, or his voice is also heard, so that we can come to an understanding. We want to get an end result, and every time you have a conflict, there's always something someone wants. If it's an apology, if it's a consequence, if it's something that has to do with just like, listen to me, then we can work together in doing that.
Thank you. Can you share your approach to inclusion of special ed students in the school, especially in an immersion program like ours?
When I was at Esperanza and Brett Tarver preschool, we had a developmental preschool. Right now, I currently have a developmental. I'm sorry, I can't forget. I'm trying to remember the program. It's all inclusion. It's self-contained. I'm sorry, self-contained. But we want to include everyone. We want to make them feel that they're not different than everybody else. We have to teach our students to have empathy. We have to make sure that we are looking at the child and giving them everything that they need, making sure that they're emotionally secure, behaviorally secure, making sure that we are differentiating all our lessons and giving them the best support that we can. We want to include all children in all the activities that we do. Even if we have to differentiate or modify the things that we do for them, we have to include everyone and make them feel special, because ultimately every child is special and every child is different, and we have to recognize that, and we have to bring them and include them in things so that they can grow as well.
Superb. How do you handle repeated challenging behaviors?
Creating plans, creating systems, It's very important. If we're a PBI school, which we are, we want to make sure we do the tier 1 interventions, praising children on a daily basis, recognizing them, saying hello, having them feel safe, having them know that if they come to you with a concern, that you're listening to them and that you're going to help support them. A lot of times it could be structure. They had a bad morning, they can come and react a different way. So making sure that those structures are in place. Kids need structure, kids need that time to think and reflect. I've had students that come in and they're very upset. You want to make sure that they get that minute or so to just, you can't ask a child a question when they're at that moment where they're about to burst. When it's a child that's a repeated offender, we want to create a support system. So having teachers connect with them, having maybe check in, check out, making sure that the parents are on board with us to help us support not only what we're doing at the school, but also at home.
Super. Our next question, how do you hold teachers accountable for implementing board-adopted programs while also being supportive?
Making sure that they get all the support that they need. When it comes to new curriculums, a lot of teachers are hesitant to try everything because it feels overwhelming. But you want to make sure that they understand what the curriculum is. You want to understand that we want to have them understand that if they need help, you're there for them. Guide them by modeling. I can come in and teach a lesson. I can have a strategist come in and teach the lesson and help support them so that they understand what is expected of them. Looking at the curriculum, sometimes new teachers per se might not understand how to make it engaging. They'll say, oh, the kids are giving me problems because it's not engaging enough. As a team, we have to collaborate and we have to sit with our same level grade teachers and look at the curriculum and see what's best. Keeping to the standards, of course, but making sure that it's engaging and it's powerful, because the more engaging it is, the students will definitely want to continue to try their best and do their best. And making sure that the kids are part of that, making sure the kids are the ones that are leading that conversation when you're teaching something.
Well, speaking of kids, our next question comes from one.
Okay.
The first question is, there's 2 parts to it. Do you speak Spanish, and can we please upgrade the playground?
Yes, I speak Spanish. I read and write it as well. And we can look at it. We can definitely look at making sure that we upgrade some of the playground equipment. I'm not sure exactly what they're asking for, if it's a slide, but definitely come together with looking to see if we can get some funding so that we can have that playground. I definitely want to make sure that the playground is a safe environment for the students. If we need to make sure we provide extra play equipment for them to climb on. But that's not just my choice, it's the school choice, it's the parents' choice. We would have to have a survey, we would have to see what they want, and then it's not just me coming and saying, oh, we need this and this and this. I can make the repairs, but I want the input from everyone, including the students.
Super. Throughout the years here at Madison Heights, Community Education, which oversees preschool and after-school programs, has worked hard to be included in the elementary school's daily activities, school events, and PBIS expectations. How would you bridge the gap between community education programs and the elementary school?
We want to make sure that we have time to meet as a staff to see where we can make those commitments to bridge the gap. Make sure that if we have an assembly for the elementary school students, that we also consider how we can incorporate our preschool students, because it's their school as well as the middle schoolers. And so we want to make sure that we have those conversations on how best we can provide either a specific event for just the preschool and then elementary, but also how we can interchange having kids from the the elementary school setting, going to the preschool, and maybe even doing just like a book read. A student can go over and read a book to the students, and that could be an activity where we start incorporating things that we want to see that everyone is participating in.
Thank you. I've had 2 or 3 different questions. I've summarized them to one, because this is a Spanish immersion school. Parents also want you to remind you that we also have a gifted program here. Do you have any ideas on how to promote and really enhance the gifted program?
Yes, my son is currently dual labeled, so he gets gifted services, and I'm very aware of making sure that the students have that ability to grow as well. So we want to make sure that we have correct curriculum for them, maybe thematic type of activities for them to work on that will enhance their learning, and you know, having the students' voice heard and what they want as projects for gifted and what they want to see, what they want to learn. It could be something as simple as let's do robotics and let's do a thematic unit on robotics, and bringing that into play with them and making sure that we're communicating with the parents of the gifted students on how we're helping them grow and what activities they also want to see. Everything has to be within, as a community, bringing input to the school and how we can make it grow. It's not my decision, it's our decision, and we have to work together to find out what is needed and how we can make those changes happen.
Okay, super. We have a unique type of question next. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, how happy are you and why?
I think right now I'm at a 10. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have this opportunity. I have been working really hard in growing my learning and growing myself as an administrator, and I think that this is giving me an opportunity to show that I am a hard worker, that I am willing to change my ways of thinking to help support everyone else. I, on a daily basis, continue to grow and learn something about myself. And right now I'm ecstatic because I'm here. And for me, just being here is a success. Because it's giving me the opportunity to say, hey, I made it. I worked really hard and I'm here and I'm excited. Regardless of the outcome of tonight's event, I want you to know that I'm excited that you're all here to just hear me out and to give me that opportunity to grow within myself those thoughts of, hey, you did it. No matter what, you did it. You got there at least, you know? And if I continue to grow, I'm gonna show everyone that I'm a person that wants to learn and continue to build on what we have.
Thank you. All schools want better academic achievement as well as safe schools. Specifically, what do you see as the biggest challenge of a Spanish immersion elementary school?
Being in the curriculum is created might not always fit our standards. So we need to go back and look at the state standards and make sure that our curriculum is guided in that sense. We're using that as our guide, but we also want to make sure that we have the ability to create projects and enhance the academic push for what the students need. We want them to grow, we want them to continue to advance, so we want to make sure that we have a curriculum that is that meets the state standards, that is rigorous, that is the best curriculum that we can make sure that the students will continue to grow. We have to differentiate, we have to make sure that we include everyone. We need to make sure we have the voice of the staff members that are concerned of certain areas that we might be struggling with, and look to find solutions for that.
You spoke about standards and getting teachers on. How would you specifically monitor student progress in Spanish acquisition?
Being in the classroom. One of the biggest things is making sure that you're in the classroom, supporting the teachers, modeling for the teachers, being there to support them if they're having difficulty. Being that I am bilingual, it's like a plus in a sense that I will be able to understand what is being said and how the students are progressing, asking questions. What are you learning today? How is this important to you? Being in the classroom, supporting the teachers as best as I can. I mean, that's ultimately learning from them and they're learning from me. So I want to be there to support them.
Thank you. Because Madison Heights is a Spanish immersion school, it requires a complex schedule. What is your experience with creating a complex schedule?
I'm at a K-8 anymore than that. Is right, currently I was working on the Zella scheduling, and the end of the year ASAN, the science, AZ science, and it's a challenge. I had to create the middle school, obviously, schedule first because it's just so complex, and then the elementary. But I have a lot of experience in different kinds of scheduling with after-school programs that I've run, summer school programs that I've run, even scheduling sports as well. I mean, that's a whole other, I want to say beast, but I shouldn't say. I think that having people that love numbers is also a plus. Having those people work with me on creating that schedule, time management, and making sure that we have the bell schedule correct, the recess is correct. I have lots of experience with schedules, so even my children get schedules too.
Super. What would you do to excite the kids about learning Spanish and speaking a foreign language?
Oh my God, I would just talk to them in Spanish all the time. I would encourage them to use their language, to practice with me. Anyone that comes to school, I would say, introduce yourself, but do it in Spanish this time, and just encourage encourage the Spanish in any area that they can. Talk to each other, even in playground. I would want to visit classrooms and ask them things to see how well their Spanish skills are improving and progressing. But it's wonderful to have two languages because you have more abilities in this world to be able to communicate. And that's what it comes down is communication, right? So we want to make sure that our kids can communicate, can be able to ask things that maybe it's hard for them to say, but have it in two languages. Maybe they can't communicate so much in English, but they'll communicate in Spanish, or vice versa. Yeah.
Can you explain your views on work-life balance?
Well, I work from 7 to 7 on most days recently. Unfortunately, where at Pueblo del Sol, where I was at, my administrator went on FMLA, and it was hard for me in that sense that the last couple of months I've been working 7 to 7, and it's tiring. It really affected my family life with my kids. I'm the one that does the homework with my baby, so I had to make sure I got home and, okay, homework time, guys, let's go. So I try to balance it with, in the weekend, sleep in a little longer. I love to play with my kids. I'm a homebody. I just will stay at home with my kids, swim. I take care of myself in meditating and making sure that I'm there for them as well. And on the weekends, let's go, clean the house, do what we need to do. But I think that for me, doing my best in a position is more of a pride thing that I have to finish. If it's at the end of the day and it's late, I still have to make that phone call. I'm gonna stay late to make that phone call because that's the person that I am. I work really hard and I wanna make sure that I address any concerns that I have that day and not leave it for the next day. But yeah, I think that being in an elementary setting would give me the opportunity to have more time at home with family.
Well, on behalf of the community and Madison, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
We're going to let you have the last 2 to 3 minutes for a closing of your choosing, and we just simply ask if you could do it in Spanish.
Okay. Muchas gracias por tenerme aquí todos. Estoy muy contenta de estar aquí con ustedes para tratar de representar a alguien que trabaja duro, que quiere una oportunidad de enseñarles que yo puedo hacer este trabajo, que yo soy una persona que voy a lograr mucho, que voy a tratar de trabajar todos los días lo más que pueda para tratar de hacer de esta escuela lo mejor que puede hacer. Yo sé que ya esta escuela es una de las mejores de este estado y este distrito y la comunidad incluye. Entonces yo quiero terminar esta sesión diciéndoles que muchas gracias por la oportunidad de estar aquí. Es algo para mí, ya llegué en un sitio ahorita y voy a seguir trabajando muy duro para llegar a ese tiempo que yo necesito llegar y ojalá que sea en una comunidad así como ustedes. Muchas gracias.
We also have the the opportunity, I'm gonna double check and make sure they meet the candidates. Okay, so if you'd like to stick around, the candidates are gonna actually be here. You can come shake their hands, ask a few more questions if you like. We're gonna bring the other candidate back. And I already explained to you how to provide the feedback. Make sure you do so by midnight this evening. You can just click on the streaming, just click under the descriptor of the video, and that will take you to the feedback. You can use the QR code, in your pamphlet, or you can use one of our devices back there on the computer. Okay? And thank you for coming this evening.